want to say thank you everybody for being here, and if you want to stay around after for some Q&As with me and Tiffany, that would be amazing. So I hope you guys enjoy this. This story is loosely based on the actual true story of Peg and Twiso, who was actually an actress in the 30s who came from Broadway to Hollywood, and she committed suicide in 1932. So her ghost is kind of believed to be haunting the Hollywood sign. So when I started kind of looking for, first of all, I knew my first feature was gonna be based on something true and real that I went through, you know, and me being from Bulgaria, being here, you know, like a USC student, and then kind of like having all the anxieties and like doubts or like whatever I was going through of like, oh my God, like, well, how do I do the transition from a graduate USC into like the real world, you know? So there's like a lot going on. And I felt like telling a scary horror story is like perfect for really how I felt on the inside. And then I did my investigation, you know, I found the Peg story, and I was like, okay, well, this is like a perfect, I can combine, you know, and then go from there. Yeah.
Awesome, thank you. Kind of, you know, jumping off of that, talking about, you know, this sort of psychological thriller element. You know, we touched on a lot in this film where touching on mental illness, chasing that Hollywood dream, you know, to your own detriment. But I'm curious about, you know, the thriller lens and also sort of the surrealist elements in the film. Yeah. And I noticed, I found it interesting that, you know, as a viewer, we don't always know what's real and what's not real, right? And I found it interesting that that sort of parallels what James, our protagonist, is going through in his story, especially towards the end, like trying to figure out what's real and what's not real. Yes. So I was curious how you, you know, as a filmmaker, structured the film to incorporate that parallel.
Yeah. Well, the movie kept progressing, you know. First of all, I started off at the very beginning, as you guys saw in the Kickstarter, I had a whole different idea. Like, I wanted this Peg character to be very much present. I did a little Kickstarter campaign. And, but then the story evolved, you know, as I started bringing on more people in, and it's just like, honestly, it's like, I feel like James represents these anxieties of what is real and what is not, of just like a young person being in Hollywood and trying to figure it out, and like the mother really represents everything that he's scared of, you know? But in order to move on, you have to meet that scary ghost and have that conversation and closure, and then go on the other side. So it was just a metaphor. I'm obviously a big fan of David Lynch as well. And this is very much just like interpretation of the vibe and the feel I have of Hollywood. I know Hollywood very well, the neighborhood, I mean. And yeah, it's just like all of that.
Yeah, thank you. Nobody really wants to know Hollywood that well. Yeah. Let's see.
Peg did.
Yes, Peg did.
Yeah.
May she rest in peace. Let's see. So Tiffany, I'm curious. So you play Olivia, and obviously that surrealism sort of is really heavily incorporated in your character. So I was curious, you know, how that informed your character. A lot of your story is told through voiceover, and I know that you also have a personal connection with the sound in the film. So if you could talk about that a little bit.
Lilia kind of hit on the fact that the project morphed along the way, and I think the biggest challenge all filmmakers have, we never have enough money or time to do everything we would want to do. So it reached a point where we had completed principal photography, but we had one secret weapon, which was the fact that I own a recording studio called Cherokee Studios, which was made famous by my business partner. But it gave us the ability to build on the story that we were starting to get really deeply into on the audio side. So there were two things that became important. One is that there was a production vehicle that had been problematic with sound on set. And so
Spilling the tea over
we
here.
we had
This
an
is a good
incredible
sign.
amount of ADR, which I am really pleased with how it came out because I've seen a lot of indie films and I've it's something that's common, but I think we did a pretty good job with the ADR. I think that all the actors did a good job matching their mouths, and in addition to the ADR, then we could expand beyond that with a whole second voiceover script. And William had already been playing the role with these voices in his head, so it was easy for us to provide the audio side to that because the visual was already there. And we were able to then riff a whole nother level and use it as an effect, use it as another layer of telling the story, and again, you know, with the benefit of that studio.
Yeah, I mean, we knew that the haunting is going to be a huge part of the storytelling. We just didn't know exactly how that was going to play out. You know, we just knew, William knew that he was hearing the voices and that's how he performed the character. But then after we were done with principal photography, you know, me and Tiffany, I actually casted Tiffany last. So then me and her went on and did a voiceover script, and then we felt like there's so much more to tell about her backstory and why, you know, her relationship with her son was like that. So we had the opportunity at Cherokee to do that, and then obviously our whole post-production team, and then with sound and music, and just kind of like, just the sound part became a big second layer of storytelling in this movie. Yeah.
And I think one other note on that is just we've talked about the mental health thing, and I think that's that really helped us show that more, how traumatized, you know, because we're really dealing with like multi-generational mental health, and it's much more we're able to speak more freely about it in today's world, but I think it helped us demonstrate that more.
Yeah, absolutely. And so the sound, the idea to tell it, a lot of that story via voiceover, that happened after production or
Yes.
principal photography?
Yes.
Okay, so you're hinting at, which we discussed earlier, but I think would be fun to talk about, how much the plan changed throughout the course of production. And I know that you guys did shoot during COVID, which was certainly a unique challenge in itself, but if you could talk about that.
Oh, yes, it changed a lot. Well, first of all, I have here Olivia, who was my first of all pick in my Kickstarter campaign, and she did a phenomenal job. But then it's just like as it transformed, you know, I realized, oh, period piece, probably not a good idea for my first feature with a horror. Let's keep it just horror, and then it just kind of like the story started being rewritten in the beginning. And then honestly, it's just like I was very open from the beginning. I want to have a very collaborative experience. So I kind of want everybody to bring something from themselves into it. And I'm open to improvisation. So there's like a lot of improv on the show that I'll never do that again. But it was a lot of fun doing it, you know, because we shot it documentary style. And then as we were going and everybody was bringing in more of themselves, I was like, oh, but that's good too, you know, like let's also have that, you know. And so it's like the script never really stayed in one strict structure, you know. It just kind of morphed, and it is what you guys are seeing now.
How was that for both of you two, you know, during the process? Was there anything you learned as an actor? Was it, you know, fun for you to get to improvise a bit, or how was your experience?
I enjoyed the fact that we were able to have the extra time with the audio, because again, it's always a thing you don't have enough time. And I mean, even now there's more we would, you know, let us keep going. There's more that we would do now. It really became like a whole nother layer, and it was fun for us working together. Yeah. Like that was also a really great collaboration and artistic creative time for us. And I love how it was used for all the effects and everything as well. I love how much more haunting everything felt.
Yeah. And for Steffi and William, like when we were doing like the scenes of them, you know, like we did a lot of castings, and we did then once I figured out who's Skyler, then we did like a lot of like chemistry castings with her and William, and once we felt like okay, this is the right couple, then like the highway scenes were like a lot of improv, where it's like I would give them more like of a prompt, you know, like we did have a dialogue, but then it's like okay, well you guys go on, you know, I was in the back seat and like okay, now you guys are going to Hollywood and you're this couple, you know, and then I remember like you guys did like a couple of hike dates or whatever, and then you had the GoPro, you know, so it was a lot of that, you know, just of like me learning about them through them learning about one another, you know.
And
Yeah.
what did that mean for you, and how, you know, what have you learned from this experience for your next one?
Yes, if I'm not involved in editing, you know, if I just come at the very end, then maybe. But in this experience, it's just because you go in the editing room and then you have 70 hours of footage, and
Tell them how many cameras you had.
we had 5 cameras, which was like too ambitious for like a low budget movie, you know. Yeah, so it's just like it was overwhelming, and it was my first feature, you know, so I had help, you know, like there was assistant editor Adam Jones, which is like my secret weapon, and he was fantastic. He came on board when I was like, got to the point where it's like my eyes were fried, like I needed like a fresh piece, you know, just somebody to like give it a fresh look, and he was a music video editor, so he chopped it so much, you know, and then we were just like, oh no, let's bring back. But my first cut was like 2 hours and a half. So it was just like difficult because like initially it was a lot more Blair Witch kind of idea. And then the Blair Witch kind of like was shrinked to minimum, you know, to just a montage. And I realized, oh, the heart of the story is actually the mom and the son, but it was already too late. So then we went back to the voiceover to do the whole script with voiceover, you know.
Oh, very cool. Okay. See, it's nice how many things we have at our disposal. I am curious. You touched on, you know, the Blair Witch cinematography. Was really interesting because you played with so many different things here. We had like the shaky cam, we had the found footage, we had some aerial shots. I mean, there was a lot going on that made it really interesting. I was curious. Could you talk about, you know, your experience working with your DP and how you crafted some of those scenes?
Yes, I mean, at the very beginning, I knew this is also an experience. I think I was just like, you know, I wanted this to be everything, you know, and I wanted it to be an experience movie as well. So I was like, oh, but this is how I feel in Hollywood. I want to have this GoPro, and I want to have this and that, and iPhone, and I met an amazing DP, Lucas Miller, super talented guy, you know, who came on board, and yeah, he did his magic, and it was amazing. But yeah, definitely having this like mixed media was important to me to create that vibe that I think I feel in Hollywood, you know, or that I feel Hollywood is. It's almost like a Wonderland or Disneyland on acid in a way, you know.
I can relate. I don't know if we have any experience. Not every. Okay. I don't know if we have any current. Do we have current students here? Okay, a few. Without getting too bleak, I guess, you know, we are talking about the experience of chasing your dreams in Hollywood, right? And the reality of that. How has your experience in real life of that informed what you wanted to capture here? I mean, do you have any messages for the people who are about to do the same thing?
Absolutely. I have 2 messages. So my first one is, first of all, I wanted to do this movie and I didn't want to wait for nobody, you know, that's why it's very, you know, grungy and urban and like low budget, and I'm sure 10 years from now when I watch it, I'll be like, oh my God, I love this, you know. Right now I'm like, oh, you know, like I'm, as a filmmaker, I'm like, oh, you know, but like I just wanted, you know, I was just eager to get the crew of people and do something special that I care about, you know, and And I didn't want to wait for anybody to give me a yes or give me a budget or whatever. I had a little bit of saved money. I did a little bit of Kickstarter, little bit of that. And I was like, I'm just going to find the right people who love what they do and they feel the same thing like me about Hollywood, and let's just go out and do this. And that was the goal, that was the plan, and we did that. So I'm very proud of that. I'm very happy with everybody involved, and that was it. So my message is like, do it, just do it, period. And it's gonna turn out what is it, and you're gonna learn so much. My second is that, like I mentioned, I wrote this like 6 years ago now. So like when I first wrote it, I was like this anxious, like young filmmaker, who was just like so unsure of like, oh my God, how do I even fit in this industry? How do I even like tell them that I'm here, But I transformed through that. I realized what I'm capable of, and like I found my worth and I found my skills. I learned so much. So now I'm like graduated. I'm like James, who's walking down the hills, and he's like, you know what? F that, I'm good. Like I can keep going, and now I'm like better. I did my closure. So it's like now going into my second feature, I'm like, okay, I know where I'm at, like it's just like I'm more aware, I'm more confident, I'm more skilled, and I'm happy to keep going.
That's awesome. I do want to ask you about what's next, but I have a couple of things for all of you. So yeah, you were talking about the budget and the fundraising a little bit. What was that process like? Because I know a lot of students are curious about, how do we start this,
Okay, well, that's a whole class. That's like a course on low budget filmmaking.
But birds get a lot of good friends.
Yes, yes, exactly. Like honestly, what exactly do you want to know?
Well, where did you begin? You did a Kickstarter. Was that the first step, and what was the budget, if you don't mind sharing?
Yes, well, it was 100K, which I know is like a very, very low budget, but we started with 25K, and I wanted this to be at that, right? And eventually the needs were growing, post-production was a very demanding process. But it was just like, I was just like, I had enough to be like, let's just get what we need, but like, hopefully we just find a lot of troopers who want to do this for love, and that's kind of how it turned out. Yeah.
You do something. Let's see. As actors, we kind of touched on it a little bit.
Can I actually answer the
please.
question that you asked about advice?
Yes, of course.
Because I've been around the block a little bit. I started as an actress and went into a lot of different areas, but partly because I listened to a lot of outside advice. So my advice to anyone else would be follow your dreams and your passions, and don't second guess yourself, and just stay on that path. Like the world has an amazing way of kind of unfolding to your dreams if you commit to them.
Anyways, obviously we have you two with us, which is very exciting. I'm also curious now, we need to talk about the landlord.
Yes, I know.
Okay. What a fun little moment, right? So fun. That first, our introduction to him. How was that character created? Was that casting? Was that, effects, makeup? Like, how did he come about?
So he was always in script, like he was always, he just represents, so a lot of metaphors in this movie, right? Like a lot of representation, nobody's like exactly, it's just like, the landlord was just like this kind of like looming energy that I always felt there is around the corner in Hollywood, of like darker energy of like, you don't really know if you can trust him, but you're fascinated by them or her or him, and he's just kind of like guarding that place where they live. That's how I felt, I guess, maybe my landlord, I don't know, but like, I just felt there is this character that I see so often in Hollywood, but Joseph Lopez was amazing. I actually originally had somebody else in mind for that character that I really wanted to get, and when he finally said yes, which he was hard to get. Then I get this casting tape from Joseph Lopez, and I was like, never mind, like, you know, like, I remember I was so excited all night. I was like, I remember I called him Alexi and Matthew and everybody and William, and I was like, look at that, you know, and they're like, oh my God, yes, like, we need to get these guys. So, like, I just had to, like, rearrange the whole schedule just to get him in. He's very popular. He's in Offset music video right now, by the way. He's so it was great.
I think you were also one of the early people to find him, because wasn't he kind of early? He had sort of just started acting, and you after you cast him, he's continued to blow up.
Yeah, no, he's blowing up for sure. He actually discovered acting at the age of 70.
Wow.
Before then, he was like a surfer and doing something else. And I was like, wow, you just found out?
Anything's possible, guys.
Yep, anything's possible, exactly. And then, obviously, casting was actually one of my favorite processes of this movie. I love casting. I love working with actors and talented actors. And, you know, it was just both of them, Steffi and Tiffany, were just like so giving and generous and amazing to work with. You know, I put Steffi through so much. She was like in the cold mountains at nighttime with a little tank top. This girl never complained. You know, she was like amazing and just like love it all.
Okay, one question for you, Stefanie, and we're going to open up to a couple audience questions. What was the hardest part for you? I mean, it sounds like you were put through some cold, you were put through some interesting things. What was your favorite memory?
Yeah, it was very cold. But I think kind of early on, like Lilia had already been working on this project for years and years and years by the time we were all brought into it. But she was also just very like open still with like and like generous with her baby of what this project was, and we did have like this collaborative process, and I feel like that was the fun part of it all. Yeah, so the cold was fine.
Everybody's opinion was valid, you know, so everybody was there. It doesn't matter if you were in the position of a crafty or, you know, or props, like even if you're just for a day there, like if you wanted to say something, you know, it was just like, yes, we wanted to hear what you were thinking.
Very refreshing. Any mic here? Who's got a question for Lilia or the crew? Right here with the hat.
Thank you. First up, before anything, fantastic job. I hope you are very, very proud of yourself. All three of you and the rest of the cast and crew and everybody who was involved with that, because it was really cool. I'm also a fan of Hollywood and spooky stuff, so this seemed very much right in my alley. I'm also a fan of David Lynch, and I noticed you name dropped him, as well as Paranormal Activity. Are there any other filmmakers or specific movies that you kind of felt a closeness or connection with when creating the story, whether that be writing or editing or on the days of shooting?
Yes, so specifically for David Lynch, it was Mulholland Drive, Under the Silver Lake, a very interesting movie about this guy on a trippy, weird adventure around LA. What else? Yeah, so my all-time favorite and one of my favorite movies is actually Requiem for a Dream. And I always go back to it when, I know, intense and heavy, but like when I'm stuck with something, you know, I'm so fascinated with this movie on every level. So the editing a little bit from that, you know, like the certain areas of like, I just wanted the editing of this to feel like a long music video experience for you, come on the dark side, a little bit of Hollywood, you know.
I actually very much felt that. That's really cool. Anyone else?
I want to say fantastic job first off to everybody in the cast and you. But I'm a high schooler in the USC summer term, and I'm in horror film production actually and writing as well. And every time the question is asked in class, what we want to be, what we want to do, I'm always the one who is with his. I'm always the only one with my hand raised when they ask producer. So what is some advice you have for aspiring producers?
I would say find a friend who wants to be a director and a writer, that you really like what they're doing, and be his best or her best friend, and become a good team and start making your shirts like tomorrow, you know? Or next week.
I can. I just wanted to ask a little bit about the audition process. What was that like for you all?
In the 2020s, early-ish, or 2021. So we were all still masking. So when we went for like a callback, it was outside and everyone had masks on and they were really far away. So it was definitely like interesting and easy to get in the horror movie vibe that way. But yeah, everybody was super nice and it was fun.
Awesome. Any other questions? No?
Hi, so amazing movie, love it. I just wanted to ask, what was the biggest challenge for you guys in the filming process?
To be honest with you, everything was challenging. Honestly, like,
Start
but
with COVID.
yeah.
Just start with that.
Yeah, just like there was just a challenge every day or every week or every month to tackle, but it was just about the mindset of like no challenge will stop me, you know, it might delay me, you know, it might take longer, but it's not gonna stop me. I think it was just about just kind of overcoming that, you know.
I have to say,
Yeah.
because that's the biggest thing I learned from Lilia working with her in that way, was that you couldn't stop her. Like, COVID wasn't gonna stop her. You know, 5 a.m. in the morning, we have like one of our biggest shoot days. We're gonna go up to the Hollywood sign, kind of stealth. And as we are making the climb at like 4 or 5 a.m., it starts raining. We arrive there, and I'm thinking the whole time, like, this isn't even gonna work, because I lived in Beechwood at one point and would always hear the alarms go off when people would cross the line. So an alarm goes off like minutes after we've arrived, but it was COVID and they didn't care. Nobody, like, I'm waiting for like this whole thing's gonna be shut down, and like, no. And that was a huge lesson to me, because it opened my mind to how often we stop ourselves from doing things before you get stopped. This woman doesn't stop. And that's, I think, it's such a great lesson to experience that and be around it. And when I mean doesn't stop, she didn't stop in getting the film finished, which is a huge thing, but she also, you know, the challenge, everything you do along the way, you're like, oh, we just gotta finish principal photography. Oh my God, we just gotta finish post-production. Oh my God, now we gotta figure out what to do with this. And then you start that whole other hustle, like, if any of those places, you can quit. And a lot of filmmakers do quit. A lot of filmmakers, there are way more films that are half made out there than made. And a lot of people, once they finish a film, are like, I did it, you know, and I showed it to a few people. And she just stayed on it. She's ferocious. And I think that will give her a huge career.
Thank you.
Okay, I think we have time for one more question.
You can think of one then, please.
Okay.
Mulholland Drive is one of my favorite movies ever made in general, and so it's really, really awesome that you definitely, like, you know, you put that one up there. It is also a movie with many interpretations. If anyone has seen that movie, you know exactly what I'm talking about. With this movie, obviously it's going to be bigger than this single theater that we're all in today, and you will not be there to answer the questions about it or explain your intention behind things. What would you like for people who come across this movie in some random place someday to think or to feel when they walk out? And if you have time, what's your interpretation of Mulholland Drive?
Great question, thanks. What do I want it to feel? I just want them to feel that even in their darkest moments, you should keep going. Honestly, it's just as simple as like, just don't give up. This is a cautionary tale, mostly. And it's, even though, Olivia gave up, she's more of a like, the representation and the symbol and the metaphor of like the anxiety of maybe she wasn't patient enough, or maybe it was just like she was maybe that close, of the what if, so it's like stay on your path and don't give up. And that's really as simple as that. Then my interpretation of Mulholland Drive, wow, that's I think that could be a whole different conversation, but I love Mulholland Drive. Mulholland Drive is a very trippy movie of like exactly again about an actress who just like goes through all the corners of Hollywood, and then at the end, whether she goes on above or she gets sucked in it's again, it's up to you to figure it out.
And I think this film, I know from so many conversations, I know that you would agree with this sentiment, that this film is not giving you a definitive answer. So we've already shown you that time is not chronological, and it's really up to your personal interpretation what exactly happened, what was real, what was in his head, what was paranormal, what was mental illness, and what did he do in the end. That's for you to decide.
That's for you to decide. And one more thing, it's like this movie, has a very humble ending. It's like.
All right. Well, with that, please join me in thanking Lilia, Tiffany, and Stefanie. Thank you guys so much. Thank you for coming.
And when we went to, it was like quite new, I think.
Anything or just my?
It's up to you. Are you a Trojan?
No, I'm
Okay.
actually Bryn.
Are you a filmmaker?
I used to work in film, but
Okay. I'm just okay.
Wow, that's so cool. And then I have a picture that I found too.
Oh my god! Heck yeah! Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thanks. oh wow!
This is amazing.
Do you guys?
Okay. So. Oh yeah.